You're out, Sophie. I've removed your name from the credits. The documentary belongs to me now. Marcus's voice crackled through my phone as I stood in the elegant lobby of the Sundance Film Festival. I gripped my phone tighter, watching fellow filmmakers mill about, completely unaware of the bomb that had just been dropped on my career. You can't do that, I said, keeping my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. I spent 3 years of my life on this project. Half of that footage is mine. Marcus laughed, the same arrogant laugh I'd grown to hate over the past few months. Check your contract again, sweetheart. As the production company owner, I have final say over credits and ownership. You were just a contractor. I closed my eyes, remembering all the nights I'd spent in remote villages, documenting the disappearing indigenous art forms that formed the heart of our documentary. Marcus had barely left his comfortable office in New York, yet here he was, trying to erase my contributions entirely. Why? I asked, though I already knew the answer. The documentary was already generating buzz. Early reviews were glowing. Prize money and prestige were on the line. Let's be honest, Sophie. You don't have the connections to take this film where it needs to go. I do. Consider this a business decision. The line went dead. I stood there, surrounded by the excited chatter of other filmmakers, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. But beneath the shock and anger, a small smile crept onto my face. Marcus had made one critical mistake. My name is Sophie Chen, and at 32, I'd spent my entire adult life behind a camera, documenting stories that others overlooked. This documentary about vanishing indigenous art forms had been my passion project, one I pitched to Marcus's production company 3 years ago. He'd seen the potential for awards and funded it, but the heart and soul of the project, that was all me. What Marcus didn't know was that I still had all the original footage. Every interview, every sacred ceremony we'd been allowed to film, every raw, unedited moment was safely stored in multiple locations, including footage that would absolutely destroy his reputation if it ever got out. I made my way to my hotel room, my mind racing with possibilities. The festival screening was in 3 days. Marcus would be premiering his version of our documentary, likely edited to minimize my visible presence and contributions. But he had no idea what I had planned. Sitting at the desk in my hotel room, I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder labeled Insurance. Inside were clips I kept separate from the main documentary footage. There was Marcus, drunk at a sacred ceremony, making inappropriate comments about the tribal elders. Marcus demanding that we stage scenes for more dramatic effect, even when it meant misrepresenting cultural practices. And most damaging of all, Marcus admitting on camera that he had no real interest in preserving indigenous art. He just wanted something exotic to make his name in the documentary world. I kept these clips not out of malice, but because something in my gut had told me to be careful. After 15 years in documentary filmmaking, I learned to trust those instincts. My phone buzzed with a text from Amar, my sound engineer and longtime friend. Just heard what Marcus did. That snake. What's the plan? I smiled, remembering how Amar had been there through every step of filming, witnessing Marcus's gradual transformation from enthusiastic producer to controlling egomaniac. Remember that backup drive we made? I texted back. Time to use it. The one with all his beautiful moments, Amar replied. Oh, this is going to be good. I spent the next hour making calls to contacts I'd made during filming, the indigenous artists, community leaders, and local guides who had shared their stories with us. Many had become friends, trusting me with ceremonies and traditions rarely shown to outsiders. They were as much a part of this film as I was, and they deserved to know what was happening. To my surprise, they weren't just supportive. They were ready to help. We trusted you, Sophie, not him, said Maria, an elderly weaver we'd filmed in Peru. Our stories are sacred. They shouldn't be used for one man's glory. By midnight, I had a plan forming. Marcus thought he could erase me from the project, but he'd forgotten something crucial. In documentary filmmaking, authenticity is everything. And I had proof that his version of the film was anything but authentic. I was about to show Marcus exactly why you don't betray someone who carries a camera everywhere. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about the moment 3 years ago when I first pitched this project to Marcus. He'd seemed so different then, passionate, supportive, eager to help tell these important stories. Or maybe I'd just seen what I wanted to see. Either way, in 3 days he would learn that some stories can't be controlled or contained. They belong to the people who lived them, who shared them, who captured them through a lens with respect and care. And I was going to make sure those stories were told the right way, no matter what it cost me. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Marcus. I expect you to handle this professionally. Don't make a scene at the festival. I smiled at the screen, thinking of the footage safely backed up in 3 different locations. Don't worry, I typed back. I'll let the film speak for itself. Tomorrow would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. The next morning, I met Amar in a small cafe near the festival venue. He arrived with his laptop and a determined look in his eyes. I've edited together a 10-minute compilation of Marcus's finest moments, he said, sliding into the booth. Want to see? I nodded, and he turned the laptop toward me. The footage was devastating. There was Marcus ordering local artists to speed up their traditional crafting processes for better television. Marcus mocking sacred ceremonies when he thought the cameras were off. Marcus bragging about how he would fix it in post to make the story more marketable. This is perfect, I said, closing the laptop. But we need to be strategic about how we use it. Just then, my phone lit up with notifications. Marcus had just posted on social media, promoting the documentary's premiere. The post included beautiful stills from my footage, with a long self-congratulatory caption about his vision and 3 years of dedication to showcasing indigenous cultures. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. He's using your shots, Amar growled, looking at his own phone. The ones you took while he was sitting in his hotel room complaining about the heat. I took a sip of my coffee, letting the warm liquid calm my nerves. Let him. He's just making this easier for us. We spent the next few hours preparing our counter move. I reached out to several journalists who covered the independent film scene, particularly those known for their integrity and interest in ethical filmmaking. I have a story about the real making of vanishing arts, I wrote, including footage that never made it to the final cut. By afternoon, 3 major industry publications had expressed interest. But the response that really caught my attention came from Diana Torres, a respected documentary filmmaker who also sat on the festival's ethics committee. This is serious, she wrote after I sent her some sample clips. The festival needs to know about this before the premiere. Can you meet today? I met Diana at her hotel suite, where she watched the footage with growing concern. This isn't just about credit theft, she said finally. This is about the exploitation of indigenous communities and misrepresentation of their cultures. The festival takes these issues very seriously. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. Heard you've been talking to people at the festival. Remember your NDA. One wrong move and I'll bury you in legal fees. I showed the message to Diana, who scoffed. NDAs don't cover ethical violations. He should know that. We spent the next 2 hours going through my documentation, agreements with the indigenous communities, original shooting schedules showing I had been on location while Marcus stayed behind, and most importantly, the unedited footage showing how those communities had trusted me, not him, with their stories. The premiere is tomorrow night, Diana said, checking her calendar. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the ethics committee for this evening. Will you testify? I thought about everything I had to lose. Future contracts, industry connections, my reputation if Marcus somehow spun this against me. Then I thought about Maria, the weaver in Peru, and all the others who had shared their sacred traditions with us, trusting us to tell their stories with respect. Yes, I said. I'll testify. The ethics committee meeting lasted 3 hours. I presented my evidence calmly and methodically, letting the footage speak for itself. Panel members watched in silence as the real Marcus was revealed through his own words and actions. As the meeting concluded, the committee chair turned to me. We'll need to review all of this carefully, but I want you to know that your professionalism in handling this situation is noted. It would have been easy to just leak this to the press. I nodded, gathering my materials. These stories are too important for that. They deserve better than scandal headlines. Walking back to my hotel that night, I felt lighter somehow. Whatever happened next, I had stood up for what was right. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, of course. You've made a big mistake, his message read. No one will work with you after this. I'll make sure of it. I didn't bother responding. Instead, I texted Amar. It's done. Now we wait. His reply came quickly. Whatever happens, you did the right thing. Want to get a drink? Looks like we both could use one. I smiled, grateful not for the first time for friends like Amar who stood by me even when everything was falling apart. Meet you in 10, I replied. Tomorrow would bring either vindication or professional suicide. But tonight, I would raise a glass to staying true to myself and the stories I had promised to tell. The morning of the premiere, I woke up to an email from the festival's ethics committee. My heart pounded as I opened it, reading the carefully worded message twice to make sure I understood correctly. The committee had reached a decision. The documentary would still premiere, but with a crucial caveat. It would be shown in its original form, with my full credits restored. Additionally, Marcus's production company would be placed under review for ethical violations. I barely had time to process this when my phone rang. It was Maria, the weaver from Peru. Sophie, the whole village is watching a live stream of the festival tonight. We're proud of you for standing up for our stories. Her words brought tears to my eyes. This was what mattered, not the awards, not the recognition, but the trust these communities had placed in me. The hours before the premiere passed in a blur. I chose my outfit carefully, a hand-woven shawl Maria had gifted me, paired with a simple black dress. As I entered the theater, I could feel the tension in the air. Industry insiders were whispering, having clearly heard rumors about the ethics committee's decision. Marcus was there, standing in the lobby with a group of executives. When he saw me, his face contorted with rage. He started walking toward me, but Diana from the ethics committee smoothly intercepted him. I wouldn't, I heard her say quietly. You're already on thin ice. The lights dimmed and the documentary began. Watching it on the big screen, I felt a surge of pride. Every frame captured the beauty and dignity of the indigenous artists we'd filmed. Their stories shone through exactly as they should. When the credits rolled, my name was there, directed by Sophie Chen and Marcus Reynolds. The audience erupted in applause, but it wasn't over yet. The festival director stepped onto the stage. We have a special announcement, she began. This film has been selected for our special jury prize for cultural documentation. However, in light of recent developments, the award will be presented solely to Sophie Chen, in recognition of her commitment to ethical filmmaking and cultural preservation. The applause grew louder. I made my way to the stage, feeling slightly dizzy. As I accepted the award, I saw Marcus storming out of the theater, his face red with fury. I'd like to dedicate this award to the incredible artists who shared their stories with us, I said into the microphone. Their trust and friendship taught me that true documentary filmmaking isn't about glory or awards, it's about honoring the truth of people's lives. After the ceremony, I was surrounded by well-wishers and industry contacts. Several offered me directing opportunities for new projects. But the most meaningful moment came when I checked my phone and found a flood of messages from the communities we'd filmed, celebrating the victory. Later that night, at the festival's closing party, Amar found me on the terrace. Have you heard? He asked, grinning. Marcus's company is facing a full investigation. Several other filmmakers have come forward with similar stories about him taking credit for their work. I nodded, sipping my champagne. It's not about revenge, you know. It's about doing right by the stories we tell. Speaking of stories, Amar said, I heard National Geographic is interested in your next project. Something about traditional music preservation. I smiled, thinking of all the possibilities ahead. Yes, but this time I'm doing it my way. No compromises. The next morning, as I packed for my flight home, I received one final email from the festival, an invitation to join their documentary ethics advisory board. They wanted my help in developing guidelines to protect both filmmakers and the communities they document. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. You've ruined me. I hope you're happy. I didn't bother responding. Instead, I opened my laptop and began writing a treatment for my next documentary. This time, my name would be there from the start, along with a promise to all the people who would trust me with their stories. Integrity first, always. 3 years of work had culminated in this moment. But it wasn't the award that made me proud. It was knowing that somewhere in Peru, Maria and her village were watching their stories being told with the respect they deserved. Sometimes, standing up for what's right means risking everything. But as I'd learned, the truth has a way of coming out, especially when you've got it all on camera. The festival was ending, but my journey was just beginning. And this time, I would be the one holding the camera, telling the stories that needed to be told my way.